Today, in the media conference with Lal Goyal, which is brought to you by V4 News, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarocar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan, and Organ Donation India Foundation. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is not only current, very hot topic, and the topic is, will Rishi Sunak fix UK's economic crisis? But before I will go on the main topic, I would like to inform you today, India is celebrated Chhath. Chhath is an ancient Hindu Vedic festival, historically native to the Indian subcontinent, more specifically the Indian states of Bihar, Jharkhand and Uttar Pradesh, and the Madhesh region of Nepal. The Chhath Puja is dedicated to the solar deity Surya and Shashti Devi, Chhati Maiya, in order to thank them for bestowing the bounties of life on earth and to request the granting of certain wishes. The festival does not involve idolatry and is dedicated to worship the Chhati Maiya, that is Shashti Mata, and sun god Surya, along with his consorts Usha and Pratyusha, the Vedic goddess of dawn and dusk, respectively. It is believed that the main source of sun's power are his wife Usha and Pratyusha. In Chhath, there is combined worship of both the powers along with the sun. In the morning, worship of the first ray, Usha, of the sun, and the last ray, Pratyusha, of the sun in the evening are offered to the both of them. And the rituals are rigorous and are observed over a period of 4 days. They include holy bathing, fasting and abstaining from drinking water, standing in water for long periods of time, and offering prasad and aragya to the setting and rising sun. Some devotees also perform a prostration march as they head for the river banks. Environmentalists have claimed that the festival of Chhath is one of the most eco-friendly religious festival that should be used to spread the message of nature conservation. Moreover, it is arguably one of the few Hindu festivals that transcends the rigid caste system which emerged in the post-Vedic period to touch upon the ideas of equality, fraternity, unity, and integrity. Every devotee, elite or middle class and caste, prepares almost similar prasad and other items to offer to the Almighty. All the devotees, without any distinction in caste, color, or economy, arrive at the bank of rivers or ponds for extending prayers. Media conference with Lal Goyal wishes you all a very happy Chhath Puja. Now, world is also observing today the World Thrift Day. World Thrift Day is being celebrated on 31st October of every year throughout the globe. In India, it is observed on the 30th of October in each district of the states with the involvement of the district collectors, local MPs, MLAs, etc. The first International Thrift Congress was held in Milan, Italy in 1924. The Congress passed a vote declaring October 31st as the World Thrift Day. It was a day devoted to the promotion of savings all over the world. It is a worldwide celebration, well sustained by savings and accountable retail banks, schools, women's associations, sports bodies, cultural organizations, and skilled agencies, etc. The day reminds us of the significance of constantly saving in order to have a protection net. Savings can also aid us in achieving our goals, such as starting a business, getting good education, healthcare treatment, or owning a home, etc. We hope that today all our viewers will save something to celebrate this occasion. Now, coming to our main topic today, that will Rishi Sunak fix UK's economy? As you all know, viewers, that the UK got a new prime minister recently, which Indians claimed that he is from India, although he is not an Indian because his father was born somewhere else and he was born in UK. But we always take pride whenever there is somebody gets elevated, but we also never comment if somebody was sacked, like we have seen what happened to Parag Agrawal recently, but no comments from any political leader or any of those who claim to be the leaders in the society. But Now the question today is about Rishi Sunak's capability to fix UK's economy. And today we know that UK is facing lots of challenges. And that's why as soon as he took the charge, he delayed the budget for 2 weeks because the budget was supposed to come on 31st of October. Now it is going to be presented on 17th November. And there are things, although he said he's going to take very strong actions, which, and he admitted that some mistakes have taken place in the past. Because as you all know, that during the COVID time, Mr. Rishi was the finance minister, we can say in Indian terminology. He was the finance minister of UK. And during that time, he was very popular and successful because what he has done, he has given the furloughs. He has even given the financial subsidy to the restaurant after once the lockdown was over, so that the people can go out, the economy can sustain. But some acts of his, personal acts, like enjoying the alcohol party in the 10 Downing streets, etc., defamed him, and he has to leave his finance ministership. And then we have seen the fall of that then Prime Minister, Mr. Johnson. Then the next Prime Minister who came, initially her term was very, very, you can say, challenging because their economy was already in a very bad shape. But she has given relaxation in the tax, and immediately it bounced back. And then again, it was curbed, and again they have taken the U-turn. Now, in front of him, many challenges are there because the mortgage borrowing cost is increasing, inflation is there, gas cost per person has to pay lots of gas cost. One of the factors is the Ukraine war also. But all the things, and he says he's going to take tough actions. One of the actions which is coming in the media is that they are planning to curb the foreign aids which they are giving, the UK is giving to other countries. That is also they are considering. And but whether he will be successful or not, today we are going to discuss this. And we have a very elite, knowledgeable panel with us. And I would like to go. And we have already received some opinions. I could not take all the opinions from the viewers, but whatsoever they have come, I have already taken with me. So I will going to read those also during the program. So first, I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran is the former visiting professor IIM Lucknow and University of Texas at Dallas, USA. He is the founder of Dr. Sharan Consultancy, California, USA. He is the director of Eldo Private Limited, New Delhi. He has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad in 1980. He did PhD in 1986. He started teaching and researching business and entrepreneurship since 1984. He published research papers in reputed journals, international seminar proceedings, and chapters in books of readings. He started academic administration phase as dean in 1997, rising to executive director, controlling management and engineering institutes in 2007. Her Highness Governor of Karnataka nominated Dr. Sharan to the Senate of Bangalore University in recognition of his distinguished academic contributions. He was visiting professor to University of Texas at Dallas from 2012 to 2019. He also visited Washington State University and President University Indonesia on the invitation of the Dean Faculty of Business in 2018. He innovated and implemented a unique model to double the turnover with existing infrastructure in one accounting year. He is co-promoter of Institute of Family Business Management Society. He is honorary director of NCR Delhi-based high-tech B2B digital startup. He is also co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. Before I will go, welcome Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran on our show. But before I will go to you and take your opinion, I would like to read out the opinion sent by Rotarian Dr. N.M. Nigam. She is the chair of Organ and Blood Donation Committee, Rotary District 3110. And she is also the retired principal of MMPVG College, Kanpur. And according to Rotarian Dr. N.M. Nigam, Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of UK, is an experienced economist with innovative ideas to boost economy. He has the advantage of a family who developed economy for India and his parents who established a big business empire outside their native land. We are confident of his capabilities, wish him success. These are the views of Rotarian Dr. N.M. Nigam, who is the chair of Organ and Blood Donation Committee, Rotary District 3110, as well as retired principal of MMVPG College, Kanpur. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. You have heard the views of Rotarian Nigam. And being a professor, and you have traveled a lot, you are the visiting professors, plus you are also have the in your profile mentioned that you have implemented a unique model to double the turnover. Now the question in UK is the deficit, the inflation, the things which are out of control, and that's why he's a third prime minister within a span of 1.5 or 2 months. Now, we would like to know your views on today's very, very important topic, that is, will Rishi Sunak fix UK's economic? Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, especially for picking up such a hot topic, which we all need to understand. It is important for the reasons you have mentioned already in your brief introduction. Now, before I go and expound my position, express my views, let me extend warm greetings to our fellow panelists today, Dr. Arya, Mr. Kannan, Mr. Unnikrishnan, and Mr. Saha, Dr. Saha. I'm sure all of us together will be able to light up the landscape so that our worthy viewers will be able to have a better comprehension of the challenges which the new Prime Minister is facing, which the country of their interest is facing. And today, the economies are interconnected. So therefore, by ripple effect, the world is going to experience. With this significance underscored, let us first ask, what caused the massive scale of the crisis? Two factors are in play here. One of them is historic, and the other one is topical, of recent origin. The historic one is the build-up for Brexit, that is Britain's exit from European Union. And the second factor of recent origin is the downfall in implementation of Brexit, which cost the Johnson prime ministership, and then the funny system of politics in the UK, where only 2 lakh people select who the next prime minister is going to be. And the previous prime minister, Truss, was developed into a position of power. She became the prime minister. She put one man named Kwasi Kwarteng as the Chancellor of Exchequer. He followed something which was ill-advised by us who understand economy. But you know, in politics, what happens is you have to take care of the people who put you in position of power. Truss and Kwarteng were put in position by a very strong ideological movement. I'm not naming the organization. We all know that name. They jockeyed them into position of power, and they felt they are obliged to carry the agenda of that organization.
Excuse me, Mr. Kannan, can you please mute yourself? Audio mute, please. Yes, sorry, go ahead, please.
So the date you mark is September 23. Man you mark is Kwasi Kwarteng. position he occupied was Chancellor of the Exchequer, and the deed which is of significance is he announcing a mini budget in which he proposed 45 billion pounds, which equals $48 billion, and a billion is 1,000 million. Of this scale, tax cuts were proposed by that government. What will happen can be forecasted. No sane person, no person interested in self-interest in preserving the power will do this one. But we don't know what happened behind the scenes. But something significant happened. Maybe the organization was desperate that we got the political power. Let's get it done in a hurry. This budget cut was unfunded. I'll explain in a minute what will the impact of unfunded tax cuts will be. You have named some. So the first ill effect of this ill-advised step by the previous Prime Minister and the Chancellor of Exchequer was pound's value tanked. Second was investors took flight. They started withdrawing their investment in capital markets. And the third was Bank of England was forced to intervene to restore order to financial markets. And it all is happening in the historic concept of Brexit and its after effect. Let's not forget that. Now, हिंदी में कहते हैं एक तो कोड़ ऊपर से खुजली. Same thing was happening, and month by month data on economy. For example, I'll mention a couple of things only because we have limited time. Car manufacturing fell down. It contracted in the last 3 months. Then service sector was trying to get a boost, but construction industry shrank. The construction industry shrank, infrastructure shrank for 2 reasons which seldom happen simultaneously. Their bad luck. The first was material shortage. And then, as if it was not bad enough, there was shortage of skilled people to the order of 1.1 million workers as soon as latest as in July, August, September. Now, the shortage was because the skills they require were not available in supply market. So, final thing is, in England, which is pioneer in health services, their health services also contracted. Now you get a broad picture of indicators of the nature of the crisis in which the previous government and the historic forces have put England in. Some of our viewers may not be economists by persuasion or preference. So please allow me to build a simple model of economy for them to grasp it. The basic model we call is two-sector economy model, in which there are producers and owners of factors of production. On the other side is consumers who are paid income, who save, and then they invest. And this cycle continues. There are 2 flows happening in two-sector model, producers and consumers. The producers are getting the factors of production, labor, land, capital, and enterprise. These are owned by individuals in British economy, private sector economy. We are not talking about a state controlled economies. we are talking about democracies. So these four factors, land, labor, capital, and enterprise, flow from the society to the producers, factories, offices, service delivery units. And for taking these factors of production, the producers pay the owners of the factors of production. The land and building owners are paid rent. Those who supply labor of different specializations are paid wages. Those who supply capital are paid interest. And those who provide management and enterprise are paid profit, which is residual. Residuals means first these are paid and the balance then goes to the entrepreneurs. This is two-sector model. So supply of the factors of production, payment for the factors of production is the first set of flow. Then the finished goods which manufacturers have purchased are bought by the consumers for their consumption, goods and services, and the payments from consumers flows to the producers. So the second flow is goods and services supply from producers to the consumers, and payment for that flowing from consumers to producers. Now, we must add one more sector. Preferably, we must add two. I will keep it simple again for our viewers to understand. The third thing is government is introduced at the third sector. So government comes into two roles. Government provides essential services for defending the internal security and maintaining order within the country. And second one is protecting the country from the external aggression, neighboring countries. In order to provide these two, government needs funding. I will not go into the taxation issue, though taxation is important here. Into merit of it, let us accept a status quo, how public finance should go. For our simplicity, we'll accept the status quo. So government imposes taxes and government borrows to meet its fund requirements. Then the producers are taxed and consumers are taxed. Plus, government itself consumes certain finished goods. For example, paper are needed by us as private citizens, and paper is needed by government agencies and organizations. Now, mark the important relationship. Bigger the government, more the consumption by the government, less is available to us citizens, and our standard of living, as we economists call it, is going to be adversely impacted. If there is a profligate government, then it will need to tax more and more. And the result of that will be each individual will have a smaller saving. Thereby, it will have a smaller investment funds available. And then, in order to maintain the economy and to grow it, we will have to depend on foreign borrowing of capital, both debt capital and equity capital. So this brings in the fourth part in our model of economy, and that will be international exchanges of the factors of production and international consumption of the finished goods of the economy. Once we put these four things, we are now ready to understand the nature of the crisis which dear Rishi Sunak faces on his hands. I mentioned this in detail, Mr. Goel, precisely because we hold a philosophy in strategic management, and that is simple to understand by our viewers, and our co-panelists will endorse me. And that is a problem well defined is more than half solved. So that's why I took this time. And I hope my fellow panelists who are very respected intellectuals in their own right will agree with me. We painted a correct, accurate depiction and definition of the management at hand. Now, will Mr. Sunak be able to fix it? So far, it is 50-50 kind of a thing. He has been in the seat for a few days, but remember, he is one of the richest business people of England himself. So he will face a credibility issue. In politics, credibility is a huge asset to have and big liability not to have. So my first contention is that in fixing the crisis, Mr. Sunak will have to be a very good statesman, both in the upper house and the lower house. He'll face challenges. Some of them will be vested interest and some of will be sound objective logic. I saw some reports that he lost his cool. He was aggressive in one of those interactions. That is not a good sign, not a healthy sign. But then when a man faces a challenge, the man ultimately, or woman for that matter, rises to the challenge. And it looks like he's rising to the challenge because he controlled himself and his outbursts. So my response first cut is he should be able to face the crisis. Now the question is, facing and overcoming are two sides of the same coin. Will he able to set right? The chances are so far not very promising, because what he controls as Prime Minister of the country is some level of control over the policies over economy of United Kingdom. What he does not have is what the G6 countries will do. And here, Britain is in a very strong adverse situation. The war in Ukraine is putting pressure on grain supplies. Putin just walked out that United Nations imposed position. And when food grain crisis happens in the world, G7 countries are called in to show their leadership and solve the problems of lesser countries, African countries, Asian countries' problems. If he does not do this, then the people who are movers or shakers in the parliament, both upper house and lower house of England, will not respect the prime minister, because that is what is international leadership, which gives power to control the domestic policies. Both of them are intertwined. So foreign policy challenges will compound his economic challenges, and he will have to rise to the challenge of meeting both the challenges. I will now conclude by saying that only in tough times, tough people get going. If Rishi Sunak manages, he'll become not only a hero in England, United Kingdom, he'll become a world leader of a strong standing, just like the president of Ukraine did in last 8 months. Nobody believed that that comedian elected to the president's office will manage the war so well against such a formidable enemy. But he has done it. Rishi Sunak has a golden opportunities afforded by economy to manage the crisis, fix it, and become a historic leader on the world scale. Thank you, Mr. Goel, for giving this opportunity. But for this, I won't have brought these complex factors into play. I am trusting Dr. Arya, Mr. Kannan, Mr. Anil Krishnan, Dr. Saha will enrich our understanding of the crisis. Today, I am constrained, so I will request your good self to free me at 11:15 today. I have to take my nieces who have assembled here. It is Sunday today, so I'll discharge my social obligations as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving your views. Only one thing which you have mentioned about that only 2 lakhs people are choosing the Prime Minister in India. Not even 2 lakhs, few, the only 1 or 2%, the high command chooses the Prime Minister. So we cannot say that the 2 lakhs people are not that much wise as those 2 people in India, whether it's a Congress or BJP, we all know that. Now coming to the other things you have already explained, I am not going to summarize today because we have lots of people who have to give their views. But now as you have to leave, I want to ask one question to you is, Mr. Rishi Sunak was the person who supported Brexit very, very rigorously and has made some serious policy blunders. Do you agree? If a person who has already made so much serious blunders, although he has not made that much serious blunders than his peers, the other 2, you can say the previous prime ministers, but being in the as a finance minister of UK, he has made the blunders. And for the Brexit, how you expect a person, and the crisis is because of the Brexit, do you think he will be able to face challenges to bring back either go back from the Brexit, which he can't, otherwise how he's going to solve the crisis, economic crisis, which UK is facing today?
Thank you. In order to understand what your question is actually implying, referring to, our viewers will be well advised to take the economy of the world as interconnected ball of threads. If you pull one string, something else gets pulled. When that thing gets pulled, a third thing gets pulled, and a chain reaction begins. The failures of Mr. Rishi Sunak, which you pointed, are real. These are not imaginary. What they have done is undermine the confidence of the international leaders who need to help him in overcoming the crisis in England. The question, therefore, is this going to happen? Our viewers must appreciate that a lot of international economics and political things happen behind the scenes, even though it is open secret to most of us. For example, the oligarchs of the Russia, they have been living in London. They've been welcomed. In fact, London has been nicknamed something like a city of Russia. When that happens, what will be natural consequence? People will develop a mistrust, and it is well-known fact as of today in 2022 that Putin funded anti-Brexit movement, those who opposed Brexit, and a lot of that money, dark money as we call it in economics, is shaping that. So now Sunak's challenge are on 2 fronts: antagonizing those oligarchs and their mentor, and the second one is winning the confidence of politicians who are going to oppose him, because unless he falls down, they don't rise. So self-interest of the British parliamentarians and the self-interest of international oligarchs are the 2 enemies. If he wins them, he will succeed. If he does not, well, that will become matter of history.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving your views and giving even the answer for about the Brexit. Thank you very much. I understand that you have to leave early, so thanks for joining our program. I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. R.K. Arya. Professor Dr. R.K. Arya is the Professor of International Economics at Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies, Faridabad. He is triple graduate in statistics, econometrics, finance, double PhD in finance and economics from Delhi University. He worked in applied economics and social welfare, Government of India. He contributed hundreds of articles in leading economic newspapers. He is guiding PhD scholars on various applied topics. He possesses thorough knowledge of social welfare development, public policies, education, and employment. He attended many conferences, workshops, and presented papers. Presently, he is teaching MBA students. He has good understanding of international economics. He is having practical experience in education planning in Planning Commission. Welcome, Professor Dr. R.K. Arya on our show. But before I will take your views, I would like to read out the view sent by Advocate Tapan Paul. Advocate Tapan Paul is the advocate and founder member of Saket Bar Association and ex-Deputy Director, Government of India. And his views are, since Rishi Sunak has risen from the bottom, he knows what is what, and he will surely put his best foot forward to fix the economic crisis. There is a saying, he who has not been bitten by a poisonous snake, how will he realize it is a pain and agony? Since Rishi has gone through the stage rehearsal of other three prime ministers, he has gathered enough wisdom to fix the UK's economic crisis. Rishi's policy will be better late than never. These are the views of Advocate Tapan Paul. Now, Professor Dr. R.K. Arya, you have heard the views of Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran as well as the views of our viewers. Now, we would like to know from you, will Rishi Sunak fix UK's economic crisis? Professor Dr. R.K. Arya, please.
Thank you so much having me on the show, Goel Saab, and greetings on Chhat Puja to all the panelists and the viewers of this program. Basically, as you have already stated, that it is a challenging task for that is for Rishi Sunak, the present Prime Minister of UK. But how the crisis has begun, I can shed a few minutes on that, and then we will see that where the problem lies. Of course, the conceptual framework has been given by Professor Sudhir Saran in eloquent way, but the problem of last 20 years, I will have to shed some light on it. At the time of 2000, when Tony Blair from the Labour Party was the Prime Minister, the growth rate of United Kingdom was 3.5% roughly. And now in August, it has come down to 0.3%. Had trust continued for another 1 month, then the recession would have been very severe, and it would have been, the growth rate would have been barely 0.1%. So back to back, two quarter contraction is called recession technically, but we are at the economy of UK is staring at recession. How it has come from the Labour Party to Conservative Party, and I knew that the Brexit can be written in thousands of pages, and what exactly is the shortcoming in the Brexit, or why it was enforced upon, why it was thrust upon, we can understand from the event which has happened in 2016, that the referendum was taken from the general public, and the Brexit favor was, that is the people who favored Brexit was 51.7%, and obviously the Brexit was declared as given. Having said this, that is the Brexit means that this Britain has isolated itself from European Union, and its fallout could be any amount of things because the people have wanted it. We cannot blame the Brexit, and we cannot blame Sunak also, or for that point, Boris Johnson also. The 5 prime ministers have gone since this Brexit: Cameron, May Theresa, and then Boris Johnson, and Truss short-lived 40 days, and the SUNAK for the last 5 days. Now the Brexit itself has made the country very smaller, because within the union of 27 countries, European Union, since 1992, the Britain itself has accepted that it would like to remain small, and then he will show the bold face to the international players that it can cut aside any person who will confront with it. So this challenge is there since 2016. The Brexit is complete in 2019. The trade relations, in fact, are yet to be reconstructed with European Union, because Asian region is facing crisis. The Asia region, China is going through severe slowdown, and also we are seeing that is the European war, UK, Ukraine, and the Russia, and the spiraling effect of the cost on the consumer and the business, as exactly Professor Sudhir Sharan has said before us. The point, in fact, before SUNAK is that the fiscal math of the United Kingdom is in severe febrile conditions, and there is a rock and the hard place on both the sides of Mr. Sunak, whether he would like to choose the hard place or will the rock. How it will strike the deal, how it will click, it is a matter of that is the destiny. What exactly the trust has done, it was a foolish act, that is unfunded tax cut of 45 billion sterling, which she announced. It sent roaring the bond market, because the Bank of England was winding up the bond purchase which it had done during COVID time, or before that, that is during the global financial crisis of 2007-2008. But as the tax cut has happened place, and the Bank of England was winding up the bond purchase, and it had already decided that it will now sell the bonds. But when the tax cuts were announced, the Bank of England could not square what decision it was taking. So therefore, there was a chilling effect on what we call the pension funds, that the prices tumbled. The bond yield of the government securities has touched around 4.5%, and the mortgage prices had gone up to 5 to 6%, and the earlier cost which was faced by the consumer and the businesses due to the Ukraine-Russia crisis and the COVID supply chain effect, that has sent the economy into the tailspin. This is the reason that the contraction of after COVID was huge, and the stimulus given by the Rishi Sunak during this COVID, that is the furlough you have already mentioned, it saved the economy from contraction. It was a fiscal stimulus. Up to this point, it was all right. But beyond that, everyone expected to tread a very delicate path, because on one side there is a Kuma, and on the other side there is a Khai. But even if you go to the Khai, you cannot revive the economy. Kuma is the recession. So the Rishi Sunak is taking at this time when the crisis is huge. What I see is that at present the inflation is about double digit, and that is the recession which we are having. It is a toxic combination. During recession, the interest rate are expected to be lowered, but we are seeing the higher rate of interest. The cost of living is very high. As such, the consumer spending has reduced, and the support to the insurance and the national health scheme is also lost. So there has to be a delicate balance between the taxes and then you spending. The consumer spending is also to be increased, because it is still a welfare state. The moot point in this particular problem is that the labor productivity of United Kingdom has been falling since the time the Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister in 1980s, because the state corporations had to be reduced in number and the manufacturing sector has been given the place. So it is the time that the SUNAK will go very carefully about the medium-term fiscal plan, as well as he will put up the long-term perspective of the economy. The investor confidence has to be reinvigorated, and also the subsidy to the people, that is for meeting their that is energy needs, because gas is the product with which they do the heating, has to be done. So therefore, the fiscal spending as well as the tax increases in certain segments, not for the corporate, not for the high earning, these taxes should never be reduced. The taxes should be reduced in stealth. The stealth means that the workers, those who are getting the wages which are indexed to the inflation, they should be charged taxes. The taxes at the rate, not suddenly at 30%, it should be reduced. Corporate taxes are already rolled back, that which were reduced from 25% to 19%. These have already been reversed. The U-turn has already been taken. Now, when SUNAK on 19th November will put up the medium-term fiscal plan, and also it can convince the investors that the cost is being subsidized and the cost is slightly taken care of, moderated, then definitely the investors will come back. And secondly, the SUNAK knows that the broken bridges with the European Union have to be rebuilt, and the issue of the Northern Ireland, that is the trade through the Northern Ireland, has to be sorted out. He will be very quick in doing it. If he does it, I hope that in December, we were expecting that the growth rate will collapse to 0.1%, and then we will call the UK economy has slipped into the recession. Sunak will able to first cut aside the recession. He will not allow the economy to go into the recession, because he has learnt from the Truss that what Truss has done, that is a foolish act. He would not like to do it. And then he is taking the advices from the university professors and all that. It is good that on economics, that single prime minister or single chancellor of the exchequer, which we call here as a finance minister, can alone not do. So panel of experts are required. So Sunak is spending day and night on that particular task, that he will put up the fiscal plan and also the long-term growth prospects, so that the economy gets back to the track. And by December 2023, we feel that the economy will be showing the growth rate of 1% and picking up gradually, because the long-term prospects depend upon that the geopolitical climate and how the austerity measures which had been put after 2010, these are to be taken off, and now the little liberal spending will have to be done. Vulnerable households have to be saved, and the taxes, the people, those who are capable of giving the taxes, they should be taken. The fine balance between those two, if it can be done by the Sunak, he will have a win-win situation. Otherwise, the fall is certain. The Labour Party is looking for the seat to be vacated by the Sunak, because he is the last person to save the economy, and he has been chosen only as the last person. After that, no economic expert or no vice prime minister is left in the Conservative Party of 200 members. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. R.K. Arya, for giving that your detailed views and opinion about the UK economy. Now, going to the next panelist guest, because of the paucity of time, I would like to introduce Professor Dr. Sanjay Saha. Professor Dr. Sanjay Saha is the Professor, School of Management and Commerce, President of IIC Brainware University, Kolkata. He is the visiting faculty of Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda Educational and Research Institute, Ranchi. Dr. Sanjay Saha graduated from Ramakrishna Mission Residential College, MSc from Calcutta University and PhD from Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur. He served as faculty and principal in many colleges, management and technical institutes in India and international arena for 28 years. He worked in ASSOCHAM. He published books, articles in national and international journals. He is at present academic consultant and trustee member of BRIGHT, Kolkata, and visiting faculty of Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda Education and Research Institute, Ranchi, deemed to be a university. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sanjay Saha on our show. Before I will take your views, I would like to read the view of one of our viewer, and his name is Dr. Jayasleen GM. Dr. Jayasleen GM is the Director of Academics, Skillsmith India, and his view is no, economic cycles, crisis and recovery are never a result of one man's or one political party's decisions. This is his view of Dr. Jayasleen GM, Director, Academics, Skillsmith, India. So now, Professor Dr. Saha, you have heard the views of Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran as well as Professor Dr. R.K. Arya, as well as the views and opinions of our viewers. We would like to know from you your views on will Rishi Sunak fix UK's economic crisis. Professor Dr. Sanjay Saha, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, and thank you all the panelists present here itself. Yes, some of the interesting facts which we have already come to know from the previous speakers itself. And let's see how we can also contribute some of the concepts which are ongoing in this area itself. First, let us think about what are the major issues what Britain has faced since 2019 to 2022. If we can categorize, we can have broad three categories. Number one is the health, that is a world pandemic issue, which is commonly known as COVID-19, followed by Russia and Ukraine war and its impact on the UK itself. And the third, which is also becoming a major concern for UK, is the defense itself, which was not the case, but nowadays it is becoming a major concern. Now, if we see all these broad categories, and if we come down to the macro issues itself, I have thought about the issue, and it seems to me that in UK, the situation is the GDP battered. And now we have seen its position is 6th, and India has become 5th. And on the other hand, taxes withdrawn is a popular measure. It is also going on in many, many countries and also in India, just to gain the popularity of the common mass. And then European Union and its demerger from them, it is also creating some problem for the country itself. Energy crisis, which has not taken seriously by the UK, this should be addressed immediately. And then enmity with the Russia, this is not a good thing for UK, so they have to resolve it. Now, deposit rate, another area where we have seen that the interest rates are coming down, and so it has to be increased so that people should be encouraged to invest more. A savings rate will increase, and then the fund will be available for the government to take care of some of the important infrastructural issues. Bond rates, it is also another area where they have to look into. And then austerity measures should be kicked in, which are also not taking place since last couple of years. And share market and is also a major concern. And last but not the least is the strong relation with the European Union community and with some other community. Now, why we are talking this particular issue itself, it seems to me that India is also connected with the development of UK there itself. We cannot say that if something is going wrong, we will not be harmed. As we know that our currency is also pegged with the UK currency pound there itself. If UK is falling, their currency will also fall. Now, if we can see some of the remarks made by Rishi Sunak and impacts and the feedback we have received from the people itself, then we can come out with certain things which I want to share here itself. When he has talked about a decrease in the price of fuel and also restructuring of the national insurance and income tax, and then how these things are going to benefit the UK people, the survey showed that 42% people are saying that it is not going to create a very big impact on them, and 24% are saying maybe a little bit itself. Then when they have talked about the cost of living part itself and the remarks made by the SUNAK, then they are also the feedback which we have received that 69% people are saying that his statements, what he is talking about to take care of the cost of living, it is not going to be too much, and 69% are agreeing on that. Now, when we are talking about how the cost of living is going to take place in the following 6 months, then people are really thinking about that he has to take care some of the important issues there itself, because they are saying that global pandemic, 26% people are saying the major reason, UK and Ukraine and Russia war, it is also creating problem, and 50% people are saying that this should be resolved, otherwise our cost of living index will grow up very rapidly. Now, under this critical situation, what Rishi Sunak can do? Let us talk about from the economics point of view, or a little bit management flavor which we can give. Now, we should know that near about 12 million people whose ages are more than 65 in Britain. And in the last 15 years, near about 85% growth of the people whose ages are more than 100. So this means that a huge number of senior citizens are staying there, and they should be taken care by the country itself. It is the social support, it is their health support, and on the other hand, it is going to create a huge pressure on the retirement benefit itself. So now the people who are working nowadays, they're in sandwich situation. Why? Because they have to produce things, they have to take care of the economy in such a way, they have to protect their own kids as well as to the senior people there itself. So what it seems to me that Mr. Rishi should take care of the retirement benefit scheme. Though some of the things they're mentioning that there should be an automatic enrollment for 8 years, and if people want to have full benefit, they should contribute 35 years in the exchequer there itself. So that means how it is going to be implemented and how it will be successful, only time will say, because this is not very easy as we are saying here itself. The second area where he can give much thrust is the investment for global goods, especially on sustainable assets, which has got some economic and social value itself. Why? Because nowadays what we are finding, we are flooded with money, but we don't know where to invest because the bond market prices are going down and the interest rates, these are also going down. And what we have seen that in Britain, 1/3 of the money invested are going to give them negative yields. So that means they should reconsider what are the investment they are making. So they have to think, and Raunak must take care of this Raunak must take care of this issue very, very with great care. Otherwise, this money will go, and ultimately the investment part will also be in a very bad situation. Then another issue is there, which where Mr. Sunak has to take a challenge, is that the greener futures. Now, greener future means that energy issues itself. They have already taken care of a plan of 25 years, and it is going to cost them more than £1 trillion. So it is not very easy for them to take care of the plan and implement the whole thing as they are looking for, because they are thinking that greenhouse gas emission will be zero by 2050. So all this require huge investment. Yes, it will give a good flavor to their cost of living, to their lifestyle, their work quality. But point is that from where this money will come. They are nowadays coming up with a bill that where they are talking about giving pressure for recycling of plastic, and manufacturers are also encouraged. But this will not be very successful in the near future. So we have to see how Mr. SUNAK will take this challenge, and he should go for the green emission towards zero by 2050. On the other hand, we have come across with another point, that is future profiting society. Because for a long enough time, we have seen that the country is investing in areas which are not having too much, futuristic view. They are neglected the broadband, they have neglected the housing, infrastructure, then also the clear and green city, and also the cheap energy sources. So all this requires that SUNAK has to take some stringent action. How we will do, let's see itself. Because by 2050, the country is going to see more than 75 million people. For them, it is a very big population. For us, like India, we are not considering 75 million is a very big thing, because we are having our own system to take care of the issue. Now, once they have come out with the European Union, so they are also going to lose the European Investment Bank. But point is that this EIB generally invests a huge amount of money for the infrastructure development. We can see in between 2012 to 2016, they invested near about 26.5 billion pound in the infrastructure development. But what it seems to us, that if they are really looking for to have a proper infrastructure development, I am talking about not only infrastructure means like construction, also the roads, health system, and also a clean city. All this require near about 500 billion pound. From where the country will get and how they will manage the fund, it is a great challenge for the new Prime Minister, Mr. RISHI itself. Now, if we, on the other hand, the solution, which it seems to us that government should think about, even he can propose to his mayors to take care of the local issues, and there should be some collaborative efforts through which they can develop the local area. Generally, what we are saying that local, vocal for locals, all these things here in India itself. So they can think about something collaborative efforts to take care of the regional or local issues. And in this context, all the politicians, as well as the businessmen and also the banking leader, they should take hand and they should come with a common aim. We have to develop all the areas. Generally, we have seen that major parts of the country are not developed as far as your housing and transport, etc., are concerned. Now, the other part where we are nowadays giving huge, we can say that we are not thinking about innovation in terms of technology there itself. So innovation within technological development. So that is another part, because fintech has got a huge market in all sectors, whether it is in insurance, whether it is in housing, whether it is in education. So all these things are coming across to develop the country and becoming a catalyst for increasing the quality life of the people there itself. Now, if we see the scenario in UK there itself, we see that in 2019, the global fintech adoption is showing that 75% of the consumers around the world now use the money transfer and payment fintech services, and 48% use an insurance fintech provider, and more than half, that is 56% of the small businessmen, are also using this type of concept. So now they have neglected the broadband and all these things. These are not good. So he has to think about that how all this type of issues should be handled as soon as possible. And whatever he's planning for this midterm budget, which he's planning to say in the third week of November, this type of thing should be addressed in this particular issue. Now, last but not the least, when we have seen the whole world is looking for small entrepreneurship concept, so they should also give a thought that how this can be developed. Why? Because near about 5.8 million small and medium-sized businesses are available in UK. And we will be wondering to know that near about 99.9% of the UK's business populations are belonging to this category itself. and accounting near about 3/5 of the employment and half of the total private sector turnover. But if we see the other side, if we consider the world top 20 companies, 11 are from USA and 9 from China, but not a single one from UK. So he has to think about, because he is belonging to a very big family. He is also having in-laws. They are also having very big houses here itself. But how at least one company should be within the top 20 companies in the world that he has to consider, because their contribution to the global GDP is becoming 3%, and which may also depend to 2% or maybe 1.5%. The power is with Rishi. The is also with Rishi. So how we have to see how our Rishi Muni will take care the UK there itself in the coming era. Also, it seems to me we should not be pessimistic. We should see that yes, a gentleman can do as it is happening in Ukraine. So there is a possibility that it can also he can also turn around the economy there itself. So otherwise, if we are losing our hope as a whole, then how we will live? And remember that India is also highly connected with the UK there itself. But it may be quite possible we have picked our money with pound. Maybe in the near future, they have to pick money with Indian currency itself. May be possible. So we don't know what is going to happen, but we should not lose our hope. And I am sure that Rishi will take care of the economy, and let's see what is happening. Maybe after 6 months, we can come down once again and we can review his efforts in this area. Thank you, Mr. Goel. And thank you for
thank you very much, Professor Dr. Saha, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Wing Commander U. Satyan, retired Indian Air Force. Wing Commander was commissioned on 10th December 1997 into the Aeronautical Engineering Mechanical stream of the IAF. He has 20 years experience working at various levels and portfolios in the engineering field, ranging wide from the surface to air missiles to maintaining aircraft like Chetak, Cheetah, etc. He has on-ground working experience in the engineering arena of multiple IAF aviation base and a base repair depot. He functioned as the senior engineering officer at multiple units, including an aviation unit. He has worked at Air Headquarters, the central decision-making body of the IAF, as a joint director, and was involved in framing and incorporating policies and decisions for maintenance of aircraft, specifically the ALH variants manufactured by HAL. He was also involved in the phase-wise discussion of the latest epic that IAF has recently acquired, and light combat helicopters being designed and developed by HAL. Welcome, Wing Commander U. Satyan, on our show. Before I will take your views, I would like to read out the views sent by our viewer, Dr. Puneet Dublish. Dr. Puneet Dublish is the Associate Professor of Jaipuria Institute of Management, Noida, and he says, Rishi Sunak has won a crown of thought. It will be a humongous task to bring out the UK economy from its problems, rising inflation, tumbling growth, unemployment, and social unrest. But the expectations are high from him. He has the understanding of economy and public finances and can be an effective leader as compared to his predecessors. So welcome, Wing Commander U. Satyan, for your views on the will Rishi Sunak fix UK's economic crisis. Wing Commander U. Satyan, retired Indian Air Force, please.
Thank you, Goelji, for inviting me onto the show, and a very good afternoon to all the panelists and to all the viewers. So before we go into whether Rishi Sunak can, in fact, fix the things which has been plaguing England and Britain for so long, the signs of the Britain's fall was visible from the time it had exited European Union. So the effects were visible. The liquidity crunch was there, and foreign direct investments, they had started falling already. The rich, who are in fact the job generators and the job providers, they started moving out funds from England. But I would really like to address two things, because I am from the area of security, are the aspects of security of a nation. No, we should understand that security of a nation is a very important factor in driving its economy. If a nation is not secure, we cannot expect economy to grow. We cannot expect companies to come because they'll not feel secure. We can take n number of countries. Nobody is going to go and invest in Afghanistan. People will be skeptical of investing in Pakistan. Countries are there in plenty, as an example. In England also, in Britain also, almost the same things we could see. The economic crisis is one thing. There was one underlying factor which is supposed to be the elephant in the room, and we should also address that. And that is the rise of Islamic hardliners, and which has led to the creation of an unsafe environment. Especially in London, there have been multiple reports that many areas are a no-go for even law enforcers. So there have been instances wherein the other, like especially the minorities, Hindu minorities, places of worship were torched, and surprisingly, there was no action by the country's law enforcers. This undercurrents are very important for us to study if you really want to understand how economics can, make or break a country. So investors, especially from countries like India and other nations, when they saw that the law enforcers are giving a free hand to the Islamic hardliners, they must have taken this as a hint, and they must have stopped their investments if they had any in mind. So this was one of the factors, and this is an important factor which we have to keep in mind. Extremism in any form is not good. I'm not talking about religion here, but extremism, if a country stops taking action against extremism, this is one of the fallouts. And I'm very satisfied to see how the Indian government handled PFI. PFI was one extremist organization, which in fact, I'm staying in Kerala. I could see the undercurrents of the future effects of the Islamic hardliners had PFI had been allowed to continue. So they moved in time. They moved in such a way that there was no backlash, and the important leaders, the extremists, were taken into custody, and all is back to normal. This is what England and Britain has to understand. The second thing, of course, is the COVID pandemic. It had affected a lot of economies, so I won't hold Britain to blame in that. The third is the Ukraine-Russian war. No, it has affected many other countries as well. But why has it affected Britain so much? One, it was opposing Russia invading Ukraine. That is one, yes. So Russian gas, which was being supplied to all of Europe, including Britain. So that was one of the key factors which hiked up the energy prices. But not only that, the important factor is Britain was a part of NATO. So NATO was always opposing Russia actively, and hence Britain had to give out a sizable amount of funds to support Ukraine. And it is continuing to do so. It has a moral obligation and the obligation as a NATO member as well. So that has also affected the funding of internal matters, because it cannot stop funding NATO projects. So these are the factors which we need to understand apart from the economics, which is being driven, apart from the economy, which is getting affected. Undercurrents are an important factor. The one is the disease, one is the symptoms, one are the symptoms which are underlying. All these three things have to be understood. Only then we can address the disease, that is the state of affairs of Britain, and address it appropriately. Of course, the last nail of the coffin was when Liz Truss had proposed tax cuts. Tax cuts is never a solution to resolve an economy unless and until an economy is in a very strong position. And this was not the right time to propose tax cuts, certainly not of the rich. So people were not very happy. Now we are coming to whether Rishi Sunak can really pull out Britain from the existing crisis or not. We are all very happy. Many Indians have said that he is from Indian descent. I don't think Rishi Sunak is really thinking about right now. He's not thinking about his Hindu ancestry. He's not thinking about his Indian ancestry. He's not thinking about any of these aspects. All he's thinking about right now is how to get Britain out of the existing crisis. So I think we should be taking it with a pinch of salt also. Rishi Sunak is not an Indian. We need to understand that. He's British. He's worried about British economics. He's worried about how Britain can come out of this crisis. So, and second thing is, let us not keep on saying that he is the first Hindu. We should be a secular nation where we should not be saying that, he's from a particular religion. Religion is not playing on his mind. Let me tell you very clearly, religion is not playing on his mind. And politics should not be driven by religion. I'm a firm believer of that. Politics should never be, it should be pure politics. And when the Western nation came out of its Christianic stronghold, only then they started developing as a economic superpower. Any country who has held on to religious followings as the key factor for driving its policies and politics has not progressed economically. That is in history to note.
Okay.
So, because equal opportunities have to be given. Anybody wants to make the economy strong, he or she should be given the opportunity. Period. So this is what, and I belong to that fraternity.
Wing Commander, now we have to find
yeah,
up.
Okay. I'll cut short. These were the news. Over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Wing Commander. Now I would like to invite my last but not the least panelist guest, and he's Mr. R. Kannan. Mr. R. Kannan is the corporate advisor and keynote speaker. He is ex-TCS, ICICI Bank and Hinduja Group. Mr. R. Kannan is an expert in finance and strategy with more than 35 years experience and during the career as a management consultant and as a key member of the corporate headquarters in various corporate includes TCS and PwC as management consultant, Hinduja Group. As VP and head of the strategy, ICICI Infotech as EVP and head of the strategy, ICICI Bank Group as EVP strategy. At present, he is providing corporate and economic advisory services focusing on central government, state governments, and corporate includes MSMEs. He is the mentor for startups under ADV program. Welcome, Mr. Kannan, on our show. But before that, I would like to read the views of the viewers. The first view has come from Professor Dr. Lakshmi Goyal. She is the Associate Dean of University of North Florida, Jacksonville, USA. And her view is pinning hopes and blame on one figurehead is reductive. Yes, a leader can set a tone for a new direction, but socio-economic changes span decades of policy making and multi-level decisions. For democracies to work and thrive, people should take responsibility of the state of their country and exercise their right to vote and participate in decision making rather than idealize, blame politicians for the state of affairs. And another view has come from Ms. Hemlata, former airport manager at Chennai. She says, as mistakes are nonetheless, I think Rishi Sunak will replace economic stability and confidence by tapping the social welfare budget. But in reality, what will be the risk of doom loop with the investors? Sorry to keep you at the last, Mr. Kannan, but because of the paucity of time, we have limited time, but I'm sure you will make your points on the topic, the will Rishi Sunak fix UK's economic crisis. Mr. R. Kannan, please. Please unmute. Please unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Goyal. I'm happy that there was an elaborate discussion on whether you'll be able to fix it or not. I can tell you that there are solutions like what we have seen after 2008 crisis. We saw countries coming back to normal, US coming back to normal. Right now, as we are aware, all the developed countries, they are having a very high inflation rate. Whereas their growth rates are 2% and 3%, their inflation rates are 10%. But in India, we are growing at 7% and inflation is 7%. That is fine. So, how we can fix the economy? Actually, I am not going to explain what has happened in the past and all. We all know the background. The Brexit if the Brexit has not happened, I can tell you that UK would have continued to do very well even today. This year, UK is expected to end with a GDP growth of 4%. And next year, everybody is expecting that it might get into a recession. In fact, the day before yesterday, World Bank released a report on recession. So the recession is likely to happen, I can tell you. One is due to inflation. Second is all these banks raising interest rates. It is raising the cost of funding for individuals, cost of funding for businesses, and especially mortgages and all we are discussing. So those rates were going up. So what Mr. Rishi Sunak should do so that he can fix the economy. I have some ideas which I want to share. I think there is enough time for that. One, like even during Brexit time, I have written a few articles and I made some presentations and all, where I said that what Britain has to do that time, they have to speak to each country in the European zone and see whatever trade arrangements they had with them before Brexit, how it should be continued. The past is past. We cannot go back. So Brexit has happened. So now what Britain has to do, they had the relationship with these countries earlier, and there was a ease of doing business. There was a cost of doing business was very less when it was part of Brexit. Plus, it acted as a leading financial center for European zone. So all that has been lost. So that is the first thing. Second, as of now, people are talking about a deficit of 35 to 40 billion dollar immediate requirement to meet the export import deficit, as well as the immediate requirements another 30-40 billion dollars. So 70-80 billion dollars is required. If you ask me, UK has got many strengths. So one of the main strengths is that every super rich in the world, they have an investment in UK. People are talking about Russia oligarchs and all. It's not only Russian oligarchs, Indian Mr. Ambani, Mr. Adani, Hindujas, ArcelorMittal. So whoever has got money, they have investments in UK. So one of the things which Mr. Rishi Sunak has to do, first to come out with a good financial instrument that is possible, where UK is known for innovation. So good financial instrument to raise 30-40 billion dollars of money at a very, very low rate of interest. So that will immediately address the liquidity requirement. Then we saw that during the crisis, the country supported the people who required financial support. So the financial support to individuals and businesses should be continued. Like Professor Saga was saying, 99.6% of businesses in UK are small, and actually these businesses require continued liquidity support. So that should be continued. Then, as I said, they have to enter into not only with the agreement of the European Union countries, they are already talking to countries like India and all that. And of course, they have good relationship with other major countries in the world. Like India, we created a system called Make in India. I can tell you that UK economy today mainly depends on financial sector, innovation, and education. So mostly they are all services oriented. And like it was mentioned by Professor Saga, I think there was a shortage of some 200,000 people to build infrastructure. So the immigration policy now, they have to form an immigration policy which will allow free movement of workers from other countries, especially after Brexit, lot of skilled workforce went away from UK to other countries in the world. So then they made the immigration policy also very, very strict, which made the skills shortage very, very high. So now they are very strong in financial education innovation sector. They have to strengthen that. Then, as I said, they have to create a program for manufacturing. Like it was mentioned that 10 large companies are from USA and 9 large companies from China, and not a single company from UK. But it is possible that they can build large companies in UK. And one more thing, right now they are talking about the central bank is going to announce another 100 basis point increase interest. If you ask me, they should not increase the rate. In fact, compared to what has happened with the European Central Bank and US, UK was so far moderate. So what they should do, they can consider only 25 basis point hike, so that the burden is not passed on to individuals as well as businesses. Then one more thing, I was just going through, UK government has released a forecast table 2 days ago on various parameters, forecast by different agencies. So what I found was that one, first of all, the consumption by government, the growth rate is very, very low. It's a 4-5%, etc., etc. According to me, at least the UK government should target, like India is doing in infrastructure and all, they have to create a big budget for expenditure for government. Second, we find that the private consumption also growth is very, very less. So they have to identify ways and means by which the super rich who are based in the UK, they start spending more in goods. So that they have to do. Then investment rate in the economy, like I was telling, the economy is now more focused on services. So now they have to start focusing more on manufacturing, industries, creation of jobs, etc. But one good thing I found was that the unemployment level is not very high, not above 5%, 4.5. But at the same time, as I said, there is a lot of shortage in several sectors where skills are required. So UK requires a lot of skilled people in the economy. So they have to create 3 plans. One is a short-term plan, like I told you, to raise funds and how to use them so that the UK economy continues to grow. In fact, people are predicting minus 1.5% GDP growth. Like one of the panelists said, it can be brought down to 0. This year it is 4%. So that can be brought down to 0. So that can be done. And so that is immediate sourcing plan. And second is that they run a trade deficit. So they have to identify ways and means by which they can increase the exports, they can reduce the imports. Of course, the Ukraine is one which is acting as a villain. We hope that that will be resolved soon. UK is not the only country which is being affected. Many other countries in Europe are being affected. So I hope they will find a faster resolution for that. And the main thing is that interest rate, if you ask me, even UK government has to convince US federal government not to increase the interest rate, European Central Bank not to increase the interest rate. And like India is focusing more on growth than on inflation, the UK and other governments should start focusing more on growth than on inflation. That's all what I wanted to say. But because of the shortage of time, I'm not able to explain it in detail.
But you have explained in points, so I think our viewers have already got what you want to say. So thank you very much, Mr. Khandan, for giving your views. So viewers, we have seen today the views expressed by all the experts, and their views are very, very extensive. They have given their views on all the fields, and their suggestions how they feel that the Mr. Rishi Sunak can come out to solve the crisis, although the time will only tell. But there are many points which has been raised by all the panelists. I'm sure that today's program is quite enlightening to all of you. From my side, I can only say that what Mr. Rishi Sunak should do, he should fix up the maximum price for the oil and gas, as well as he should tax the oil and gas corporates, not other corporates, because they are the persons, those corporates, oil and gas corporates have printed money during this COVID crisis and now during this Brexit also. If they will be taxed, so that at least those the general public will get the relaxation, because the bill is too high as far as the oil and gas are concerned. That is one of the suggestions. But because of the paucity of time, I could not take the question answer session today. But thank you very much. So, and because today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Now se Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan, as well as shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir sir, and thank you very much, Professor Dr. R.K. Arya. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Saha. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Krishnan, and thank you very much, Mr. Kannan, for giving your views, and thank you all the viewers for watching our show. And I'm sure today's program is quite enlightening, but still, if you want, you can send your suggestions and opinions so that we will take up the programs accordingly. Thank you very much.